That's good.
Welcome everyone to Season 3, Episode 82 of the Premier Pod. I'm your host, Yash Bika, joined by my co-host, Tyler Chan. In this episode, we'll be breaking down who will finish in the top four for the final two spots in the Premier League, and also who will stay up in the Premier League. We have three teams fighting for that final spot to stay up. We got Aston Villa, Watford, and Bournemouth. And then finally, we want to quickly mention some of the standings in the championship in terms of who will be coming up into the Premier League. But to start things off, Liverpool finally got to hoist the Premier League trophy, the first time in their club history to finally hoist that famous Premier League trophy. Jordan Henderson, obviously the captain. It was pretty cool to see him, even though he was injured and everything. It was cool to see him finally hoisted up and everything. But, you know, Tyler, your team finally, how cool was it to finally see them just celebrate the Premier League title with a trophy like that?
It was like a kind of not weight lifted off your shoulders, but it was just like, oh, finally it's happening. It's like one of those things where you've been waiting for it for so long, and then it's like, all right, it's here. It's kind of like the Tesla stock, where it's like you know they're gonna hit their Q2 numbers from looking at their sales of cars, and then finally when the report came out like 2 weeks later, it happened. Because, like, you know, Liverpool won the title technically a few weeks ago, and that's when I feel all the euphoria happened. But then it was like a little second wave when we saw the trophy be lifted by Jordan Henderson, which was a little weird also because we knew he was injured. So
yeah, I don't know how you felt about him dancing around with his knees, like jumping up and down.
I mean, at that point, you're just on pure adrenaline. So I was like, you know what, this is cool. And then also it was really neat seeing all these players get the medal. So like you see like Adam Lallana, you see James Milner, of course Henderson, and then like just see like Dejan Lovren get the medal. And then it's like, man, it's been a process. I mean, all these years of all these players also going through all this. And then seeing like these new players like Takumi Minamino getting the trophies too, or getting the medal. It was kind of weird, not gonna lie. It had like that same energy of seeing like Benjamin Mendy win the World Cup. It's like,
oh yeah,
we didn't really do
Florian
too much.
Thauvin, right? Wasn't
yeah,
Thauvin?
It's like I didn't really do too much, but you know, I guess you deserve it.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Real quickly, that I think the way it goes is if you have at least 5 appearances for the club in the league, you get an automatic medal. So it was pretty cool seeing Klopp give those appearances to Nico Williams and Curtis Jones, I believe.
Yes.
So they qualified for the automatic 5 to get the medal. That was pretty cool to see.
Curtis Jones literally got it in the game yesterday against Chelsea. Like that was his 5th. And it was like, oh, thank goodness. So that was pretty cool to see. And just seeing Twitter, just all the posts, like right now is a great time to be on Twitter if you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah, not the best for a United fan.
Not
I just kind of logged
every
off.
other team, but like you can just see every single player from the Liverpool squad posting like the aftermath of them being with the trophy, just celebrating. Like Trent Alexander-Arnold posting, he's like, I'm just a normal lad from Liverpool, and then it's just the picture of him with the Champions League trophy and then him with the Premier League trophy.
Yeah.
It's like, who would have thought? And then within 13 months, we literally win everything.
It was crazy. It was like a subtle flex by Van Dijk. He made a Twitter post and he was just like, this is an example to all the kids to follow your dreams. And in his picture, he's on the bus with the Premier League trophy. And then you see on his neck is like the Premier League medal, the Champions League medal, like the FIFA Club World Cup medal, and the UEFA Super Cup medal. And it's just like they're all just hanging around his neck and he's just like flexing, like, wow, look at me. And it was pretty cool to see.
Dude, not many people can do that in history even. So like that is definitely a moment to soak in for Liverpool fans. And not gonna lie, it was a little spoiled because it was just happening during the middle of the day and I was still working because they did the trophy celebration on like a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm still working. I mean, you know, it was a busy day, so I was still doing some things. But, you know, as a true fan, I probably should have stopped working. But I was like, man,
we got responsibilities out here.
Yeah, I got responsibilities to do some other things. But it was good. I still watched it on YouTube and, you know, afterwards.
Hey, I mean, you still lived through all the experiences. You're true fan.
Post-mortem.
Yeah, you lived through all the experiences. I thought it was also pretty cool. Not even to mention the game, but seeing some of the ex-Liverpool players. Like I saw Lazar Markovic Twitter posts about it. I know Steven Gerrard posted something about it. There's so many other like ex Liverpool players that I saw on social media just post like congrats Liverpool, congrats and everything. So you could tell even players that were no longer part of the team how much it meant to them. And how crazy of a game was it for Liverpool to win? Because it kind of the way they won this game just took me back to when Klopp was first became manager, like those first couple seasons before they had Van Dijk and a defense. They were literally winning games 6-3, 5-3, 4-3, 3-2. And it was just such a throwback to when he first came to the club. It was just such a spectacular game to watch. And Pulisic scoring that goal, you saw the smile on Klopp's face. It just made me think, why didn't Liverpool just go out and buy Pulisic before Chelsea? I think he would have been like a perfect match for Klopp because I think Klopp really likes him as a player and as a person and everything.
In terms of referencing what was happening, so yesterday Chelsea and Liverpool faced off before the Liverpool trophy lift, which is a little crazy because like if you think about it, I was like, what if someone got injured during that trophy lift or before the trophy lift and he had to go to the hospital and then he misses the celebration. So
oh my gosh,
I'm glad no one got hurt, but also that was Liverpool fully also succeeding in making sure they keep their fortress home record alive. So they went undefeated at home with that 5-3 win against Chelsea. But for Pulisic, he came off the bench and immediately made an impact. Nutmeg Joe Gomez got an assist and a goal.
Nutmeg Joe Gomez, like dang.
Gosh. But for Pulisic, I think the reason why he didn't go to Liverpool is because I frankly just think it's because Chelsea paid more money. And I think
that's what they've been doing a lot recently.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like what happened with Werner. So I think that's the reason why. And also, Klopp, he's not the type of manager that try to go into a bidding war with another team. He'll always find another alternative to bring in. And also, we have a lot of other players that we have like in the starting 11 that I don't think that Pulisic would have overtaken anyway. So Pulisic right now is like a starting 11 for Chelsea, but for Liverpool, he would have been a bench player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of it. And also, I don't think Klopp has so far brought in a former player of his into Liverpool.
That is true. I'm trying to
like
think.
Every player from Dortmund, he just kept at Dortmund. Like he hasn't like tried to get him back or poach anyone. Yeah, he just hasn't touched them. So like he brought Pulisic into Dortmund as an academy player and gave him his first starts. But ever since then, I don't think he's trying to go after him. So I think that's also part of it. Like he's just, it might be a respect kind of thing to not go after your old players.
I was thinking that because you see a lot of other managers like Mourinho. Mourinho will just like go all in, like buying Matic.
You gotta bring Fellaini everywhere he goes.
Yeah, bring Fellaini everywhere. I mean, with Pep, like if he could, he would bring Messi and everything. But
I think everyone would bring Messi.
Exactly. But you kind of see that a lot of former managers will kind of bring their type of players and stuff.
Yeah, Marco Silva brought Richarlison from
to
Watford to Everton, and then. But yeah, Matic was probably the biggest one for like Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, and he really loved it. Like he was trying to bring Willian to Manchester United when he was a United boss. So it's not common. It's not uncommon to see that. But maybe it is more of like a respect thing that Klopp is just like staying away. But it was funny. It's funny because that entire Dortmund team since he's left, I feel like it's just been rated by the Premier League, like Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Gundogan, Socrates, all in the Premier League or have once been in the Premier League. But with that Liverpool squad, there was an interview with Adam Lallana. Looks like he's most likely leaving the club, right? He's leaving.
On a high.
Yeah, on a high. But what, we've kind of mentioned this before. We'll mention it real quickly again. What do Liverpool need to do, or who do they need to bring in to make sure they don't fall off for next season, or they don't have that type of drop off in performances like they've had since they finally clinched the title this season?
I still believe that Klopp is going to give more impact to the academy players that have been getting more appearances, like Curtis Jones, Nico Williams, and then probably Harvey Elliott will get some more time next season. And then Takumi Minamino, although he hasn't been showing, he's been getting substituted in and getting a few occasional starts, he's been starting to get a little bit better in the more recent appearances, which is a good sign. And I think certain players are also probably on the way out, like Shaqiri and Lovren.
Shaqiri's leaving?
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that.
Shaqiri has been injured most of the season, but he's gotten the occasional.
He scored that double against United. That's the only thing I remember.
I will miss Shaqiri. I really wish Shaqiri could stay on the team forever, but I think it's just one of those situations where maybe he probably wants more game time, and he's always been the player that comes off the bench, unless he was at Stoke, but. It's just kind of those situations. So I think Klopp will probably entrust and bring in the youth still, because like Ryan Brewster, if for those that haven't heard me rant about him,
he's been on Ryan Brewster train for like literally since season 1.
Yeah, but I will say he helped Swansea get into the playoffs for the promotion from the championship, because I believe Swansea in their final match, he scored the opening goal for them and got them into the playoffs. But they do have to face the third team place in Brentford, but we'll go into that a little bit later in this episode. So I think like all these players that I mentioned, I think they will get a bigger impact and bigger roles for next season. And there are more reports that Thiago Alcantara is getting closer and closer to Liverpool with like transfer deals and transfer negotiations becoming more and more confirmed. But I don't know if that's all just solder just to get Thiago a higher contract from Bayern Munich. Just be like, hey, I can leave. Look at this. It's like, it's possible. But, I don't really believe anything until I see that picture of the player holding the jersey. Like, I don't know. But I mean, if he were to come, that'd definitely be a big boost, but I don't know if he'd be a starter. I feel like that's what he'd want. But given that Liverpool are the best team in the world right now, it's like, who would he take over for? I don't know. So that's the thing.
I mean, we saw that game, not to go, in that game, we saw Naby Keita score that screamer. And, I would say this as an outsider, I don't think we've seen the best of Keita, whether that's through injuries or lack of confidence and such. But, when he was when he was in Germany and everything in the Bundesliga, I mean, Keita was like lighting it up. So maybe he could be that kind of that new signing in a sense, if he can get his form back to what he was when Liverpool initially signed him.
Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing, because Keita, he is one of the most, if not the most expensive African players still.
Wow. Even more than Salah. Wow.
Yeah. Salah was like 35 and then Keita was like 50.
Jeez.
50 million pounds.
And he's still young. He's like, what, 23, 24?
I don't know, actually, but I know he is pretty young in relative standards. I'm guessing like your age, like the age guesses that you've been putting out there, probably what he is. Probably. Oh, wait, that's crazy if he's around my age. Holy cow. But yeah, I still think maybe just getting more acclimated to Klopp's system too might have been a learning curve as well. But I think based on the recent results too and how he's been performing in the Premier League, it's looking pretty promising. I think he'll get another more impact for next season, and he's going to be like a new player signing in a way too, because he hasn't really been the player you'd start. He's always a player that you would bring on to like finish out a game or something like that. But if he makes a bigger impact, then he will be like a new signing as well.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be exciting to see what Liverpool do, because if we've seen anything, City have been on fire in terms of their offense. I know their defense needs to be fixing, but they'll definitely go out and fix and strengthen that way as well. So City and Liverpool are definitely the top dogs for next season.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be 1 and 2 pretty much locked up. It just depends on who flip flops, but
yeah,
those two are locked
Golden
up.
State Warriors versus Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah.
Again.
Or like the Los Angeles Clippers or the Lakers, if you're going this season with the NBA, just like two juggernauts basically. But the teams below them, we're talking about Chelsea, Manchester United, and Leicester City, the teams that are fighting for the top 4 places. It's been, a bit of an odd run-in for all 3 of these teams, because in a sense, everyone was on Manchester United. I was too, when they were winning games off the block, just winning games 3-0, just destroying teams after the restart. But these past 4 games, I would say, you kind of see the lack of depth in terms of the quality of bench players that Manchester United have, because they've been having to roll out the same starting 11 since the restart. And personally, I think the problems they've been having, when they drew 1-1 to West Ham, drawing 2-2 to Southampton, barely getting by against Crystal Palace, and such. A lot of that I think has to do with the lack of stamina and the lack of energy this team has, because the one guy I'm going to point out, Bruno Fernandes, when the restart happened, what we saw before the restart and before the pandemic and everything was that he was he was a playmaker that could run, and, he was trying to run and get past players, but also he would try to shoot, and he would just try to shoot as many shots as he could, whether it be long shots, short shots. But in the past couple games, I've seen that he's taken more of a step back, and he's not really been as quick, and he hasn't been linking play as fast as he was maybe a couple games ago. And I think a lot of that has to do with how tired he is, because he's not taking as many shots as he was when he first got into the league, and he's not really speeding up the play. I feel like in a sense, sometimes he's slowing down the play. Him and Pogba, I think they're both really tired, and I think the lack of energy is kind of showing in terms of this whole United squad, and it's kind of worrying, low key, because they have that play-in match basically for the Champions League against Leicester, and I don't know, man. I'm not feeling too confident as a Manchester United fan right now, because what I've seen is that this team is just really lacking energy, and I just don't know how you can get back energy without just getting rest.
Well, good news for you is that not only are United looking tired, but most of the other teams as well, especially Leicester. Leicester,
Yeah.
after coming back from the rest, or I guess the restart, like they literally have been just trying to throw away their Champions League opportunity.
I know, literally Soyuncu got a red card and got sent off for the final 3 remaining games.
So he's not going to be there. Lord Farquaad will not play against Manchester United, their key defender.
I know.
Besides Johnny Evans.
Yeah, and Johnny Evans has been pretty bad on his own too. He's been caught out a bunch of times, I would say.
He's pretty missing his buddy.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I think all the teams are tired, but oh man, Manchester United scared me a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, if I were to pick which team I'd favor for this matchup, Manchester United versus Leicester, going into the final game of the season to decide who gets that last Champions League spot. And all Manchester United have to do is get that draw while Leicester have to win. Given all these things and all these variables, I still give it for United, because if you also look, Leicester in the past recent games have been starting some players that haven't conventionally started as well, such as Luke Thomas, one of those youth players that's coming up from the ranks, getting his start at a very crucial time of the season, which it's a big risk from Brendan Rodgers, but it's not something unlike him, because he likes to trust in a lot of youth at very sporadic times, and a lot of youth doesn't really correlate to high potential, because like you've seen him play certain players like freaking Jordan Ibe, Fabio Borini, Lazar Markovic. Like,
oh my gosh,
literally
basically all the players that were tweeting congrats Liverpool.
Yeah, it's like, well, we didn't make it, but I'm glad you guys got it. But Brendan Rodgers likes to do this kind
what's
of
that
thing.
Jordan Rossetier?
Yeah, Rossetier, dude, who we thought was going to be the next Stevie G.
Oh man,
now I think he's at Rangers now.
Yeah,
ironically
so
enough, with Stevie.
Yeah.
But besides that, he's also starting Wes Morgan and Ryan Bennett in the last game against Spurs. And Ryan Bennett was on, I believe, the old Norwich team that got relegated all those years ago.
Jeez.
And then now he's finally making some start appearances, and then Wes Morgan out of the grave.
He's old. He's old.
I don't think they were able to keep up with Rashford. And like, if you think about it in terms of just pace alone, unless you're in like an ace at positioning, at defensive awareness, which in their prime, I feel like Wes Morgan potentially was due
definitely
to them
during the
winning
title winning
during
season.
the title winning season. Yeah, but now this is a Wes Morgan that's 4 years after that title winning season.
Yeah,
coming out the bench to start for some of like the first games of this whole season, going against his Manchester United team in a must-win scenario. I don't know. I'm not gonna give Leicester much benefit of the doubt for this one, because I think it's kind of all going against them. So maybe they'll have that mentality and be like, you know what, we're the underdogs. Maybe we can get through this. But I don't think at this time it's kind of right to have that kind of mentality.
It's definitely crazy how everything is lined up, because the scenarios are for Manchester United. They have the easiest route. All they have to do is win, but they also have the luxury. They can win or draw. But if they do that, if they lose this game against Leicester, they just need Chelsea to lose and they're in. And then for Leicester to get in, they need to win or they could win or draw, and they need Chelsea to lose, because Chelsea right now have a far less superior goal differential compared to Manchester United and Leicester, because Chelsea right now are sitting at plus 13 goal differential, and Leicester and United are tied at 28. And that's kind of shocking for Chelsea, because they have a really tough game against Wolves. Wolves are not they're not an easy team to face. I mean, everyone that's watched the Premier League this season have seen how good and how compact and how strong Wolves are. I mean, they've drawn twice against Manchester United. They gave Liverpool a run for their money. They beat Manchester City twice. This is not an easy team. They have a lot of pace with Traore. Jimenez is scoring goals for fun. Podence, Jota, Moutinho can create from the back. Ruben Neves is a deep playing maker. And that Chelsea defense is not exactly very good. I mean, Kurt Zouma, Antonio Rudiger, and Cesar Azpilicueta do not exactly, for me, scream confidence. And then you have Kepa, who literally during the Liverpool game, I think Alexander-Arnold just whipped in a cross or something, and he just stood. He didn't even try to attack the ball. So if you're compounding all of that, I know Chelsea have they have a sublime attack. When Pulisic, Abraham, whether it be Hudson-Odoi, Willian are all firing, at full throttle. However, that defense really freaks me out. And if this is a Chelsea Wolves game, I honestly am favoring a Wolves win than a Chelsea win going into this Championship Sunday.
That'd be so sad if Chelsea don't get into the Champions League, because
it'll be a disaster.
Leicester tie, and then Chelsea loses, and then Chelsea get Europa League due to
the goal differential,
which is pretty possible. But also, Wolves have to win to guarantee Europa League, because Tottenham are 1 point under them. And Tottenham, let me see, who are they facing again? Crystal Palace. So
they'll probably win that game. Crystal Palace have been bad.
Have been bad since the restart. Streak, and they have under Roy Hodgson. This is the longest loss streak he's ever had in his career. Mm-hmm. So maybe they'll
and they don't have Van Aanholt either. He got hurt in the United game, so that's their best left back gone.
So a lot of things are pointing at Tottenham getting that dub against Crystal Palace, and then potentially leapfrogging Wolves if Wolves get either a draw or a loss. So this is a crazy Championship Sunday so far, just for the top half alone. Just like hearing us. Unfortunately, Sheffield United are not in the running. They lost a few games after the project restart, and now they're just going to be smack dab in 8th. And also to make note, Arsenal in 10th. Their only hope is to win the Europa League.
Cup.
I mean, win the FA Cup to get into the Europa League.
Yes,
against Chelsea. So
who do you have in that Chelsea Wolves game?
After seeing Chelsea get 3 goals against a Liverpool side who needed to win, so I wouldn't kind of spoil their kind of night. It made it look like Chelsea was actually pretty decent, but Wolves, they just been so consistent throughout the entire season, even after Project Restart.
Nuno, I mean, they are such a good team to watch because they're so well knit and they're so well coached. Like everyone knows what position they are, how to play it perfectly. Everyone gets really compact when they need to defend, and when they break, I mean, they have literally, when you have guys like Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez, who have been probably the best partnership in the league this season, just based off chemistry and everything. And that defense for Chelsea, like I've mentioned, I don't know. I probably have a little Manchester United bias, and I just want to see Chelsea lose. But Wolves are no joke, man. If I'm a Chelsea fan, I'm going into this match a little worried.
Well, either of them would hate a draw. I think yes. That's the thing. Even though it would kind of guarantee Chelsea a Champions League spot in certain scenarios, it'd be a pretty high chance. But for Wolves, like they have to win.
Yeah.
So this is gonna be tough. I think they both will want to win, and then that'll end up with them kind of going crazy with their tactics potentially, where they're just very open and exposed. So it might be a very high scoring game. But it might be a very high scoring game, but then lead to a draw. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So say that's what happens. We're doing a
Do you,
prediction a little early, but I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 3-3.
Do you think he'll start Lampard or Abraham? Or if Lampard will start Giroud or Abraham, because we saw Giroud, he played pretty well in the FA Cup, but against Liverpool, he got the goal, but he was really struggling to create a lot. And then Abraham came on and he made an instant impact along with Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi. Do you think he goes with that front three, or do you think? I feel like he'll probably end up going with Giroud because that's the guy he's been trusting a lot lately.
Yeah, I think it will be Giroud that'll start.
He needs to start Pulisic though, please.
He does need to start Pulisic.
Start Captain America. Start Captain America.
Unless he has some kind of tactic to make him more of an impact player off the bench. And I mean, ultimately, that's what got him a couple goals last game against Liverpool. So,
yeah.
I mean, they didn't start well against Liverpool either last game. So he probably have to change up things. But I also, although I said it might be a 3-3 draw, that's only assuming if everyone just decides to throw tactics out the window and just go all out. Because, although Chelsea, you've seen them concede a lot of goals, you haven't seen Wolves concede a lot of goals.
Yeah. They've only conceded 38. So they actually have a better goal. They're just as good as Leicester have conceded 39. United have conceded 36. So Wolves have conceded only 38 and Chelsea have conceded 54.
Yeah, so I can see Wolves definitely scoring, but I don't know if Chelsea can do as much damage.
Yeah. It'll be interesting though, but the race to stay up in the Premier League is arguably just as interesting this season, with the final spot up for grabs. Right now in 17th place is Aston Villa, and they are sitting at 34 points with a better goal differential than Watford, who are in 18th spot, and they have a negative 26 goal differential. Villa does. Watford has negative 27, and then Bournemouth, the team in 19th place, still has a chance to stay in the Premier League with 31 points with a negative 27 goal differential. So the scenarios are basically this. Villa and Watford pretty much just have to win. And then Bournemouth have the hardest job on their hands because they need to beat Everton, but they also need Villa and Watford to both lose. So they have a very unlikely road to get back and stay in the Premier League. But all you Bournemouth fans out there, there's still a chance. There's still a chance out there that you guys could do it. But it's interesting for Watford because they fired Nigel Pearson. They sacked him. They brought in interim manager Hayden Mullins. Then he gets smacked by Man City. So that new manager bounce that Watford so often relies on so many times since they've been in the Premier League kind of screwed them over in the last game. And if I'm being honest, if I want to see a team stay, I'd rather see either Bournemouth or Villa stay. And I don't know, Watford, I think the way they manage their club, just think about it this way. If you're a business, how would you feel if you were working for a company and literally they kept firing their CEO every 6 months? Like there's literally a new CEO come in every 6 months.
Or fire most of their team.
Yes, exactly. And then you have to bring in a new culture. Because like when you bring in a new team, you new culture, new workplace habits, new techniques, new tactics, new everything. I just don't know how Watford have been able to do it for this long, doing that same system of just firing, rehiring, and once again firing.
I was going to say, that sounds a lot like Big Four consulting. But then I was like, well, you don't really fire the CEO and then change the culture every time like Watford would. So yeah that's way different.
It's kind of sad too, because Watford, we did an episode maybe a couple weeks back where we kind of both predicted Watford would probably stay up. And I was looking at their squad, and they have, if you look at their squad, they have a pretty decent squad. They probably arguably have a better squad than Villa and Bournemouth. You have players like Troy Deeney, Ismani Sarr, Decore, Delafeu, Pereira. I mean, they have some of these nice, good attacking players, but it's just been a disaster for Watford this season.
Literally a couple episodes ago when we were discussing who would stay up, I was thinking Watford was going to stay up because like literally Nigel Pearson is, performing. He's the king of a great escape.
Great escapes.
And they've been like, although the results haven't been too consistent at the Project Restart, it was looking likely that they could at least stay up. But after firing Pearson, it's like, you know what? Here's our chances of staying up. And then it's just thrown out the window. It's like, what the heck were you thinking? It's like, what kind of decision is this? They have to face Arsenal. Granted, Arsenal really don't have anything to play for besides maybe form going into the final FA Cup game of the season. Because, Arsenal could win, lose, draw this, and then they'll still be basically in the same spot in the table. It's not going to change anything. But Arsenal, I don't think they'd want to be the team that loses to Watford. So I think Arsenal is still going to give them a good game. And I don't even know if Watford can even handle like this kind of scenario, because Watford, although they got smacked by Man City, they did have like a pretty decent counterattacking game. But
it's crazy because they also got smacked by West Ham too.
Yeah, so I don't know. If I were Watford, I think they probably have the worst chance, because if you look at, like, say the other games, West Ham, Villa, West Ham's already safe. They're done.
Yeah, they can just chill.
David
Moyes can be just like, all right, guys, have a nice break.
Yeah, have a nice break. Oh wait, we have one more game. Oh, okay. We'll just whatever. Who wants to play?
Yeah, basically. It's like, you want to play? You get a chance.
Right,
you get a chance.
It's like, all right. And then Villa, they are going off some good momentum after getting the victory against Arsenal. Granted, the Arsenal side didn't perform as well as they did against.
But it's a huge victory. Trezeguet scoring a good goal.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was Trezeguet.
Yeah, it was Trezeguet,
yeah.
And then Jack Grealish having the game of his life with all his stats of
boyhood Aston Villa fan, man.
Mm-hmm. I think he can carry.
Yeah, him the boyhood Aston Villa fan, like, he wants to keep this club in the Premier League.
So I think Villa have actually a pretty decent shot of making sure they stay up. All they have to do is win, and then
and they're in.
Yeah, win and they're in. Win is guaranteed. Draw is
you're rolling the dice.
Rolling the dice, but that's also kind of rolling the dice on Watford also not getting a result. So if
which could happen
because Watford have to win as well.
Yeah,
for them to leapfrog Villa.
And it's crazy. Even if Villa win, Watford need to win, but they need to better the Aston Villa result if Aston Villa win because of the goal differential.
Because it makes it a little easier for us to kind of discuss who would stay up, because their goal difference is basically the same. So let's just put it that way. Let's just assume it's the same, because it essentially is off by one goal. Yeah. So if Watford win, they have to win big, and if Villa win, they have to win big to stay safe, but assuming Watford also win. But then if Watford get a draw and then Villa win, then they're safe. If both get a draw, then Villa are for sure safe, because Bournemouth has to win and the other two teams have to lose. Yeah. There's a lot of scenarios playing through. It might be a little confusing for those listening, not looking at the table. But basically, it's like TLDR, long story short, Villa have the best chance, and then Bournemouth is their destiny's not in their hands, but they just have to win, and they have to win big. And then for Watford, if they win big, then they have a pretty high chance. But otherwise, it's looking like Villa are going to stay up.
Yeah, it's quite crazy how basically going into Championship Sunday, you're fighting for the last spot to stay in the Premier League. It's wild. It's really.
I don't remember the last time we've seen something like this.
Yeah, and we've usually seen it's like there could be a chance where this random team could stay up, but it's never been a fight where it's like 4 teams or 3 teams are literally fighting for survival in the Premier League.
And they're so close.
Yeah,
like they're so close close.
It's a real
long time.
Because even if we're being honest, there's a realistic shot Villa and Watford could both lose, and Bournemouth somehow score and somehow grab a winner. Because
even Bournemouth, if the other two teams lose, and Bournemouth get a win, because of the goal difference being so close, Bournemouth don't even have to win big. They can just win like 1-0, and then the other teams lose 1-0, and then Bournemouth stay up.
Gosh. Geez. So it's crazy because we already know one team that's relegated, Norwich City, and by Championship Sunday, obviously we'll know the 2 other teams that will be relegated into the Championship. But the teams that are coming from the Championship and that are going to get automatic promotion into the Premier League, Leeds United, obviously we've known that since last week with them clinching their league title. But another former mainstay in the Premier League that you probably know about is West Brom. They haven't been in the league for 2 years now, but under the management of Slaven Bilic, who, if you didn't know, was West Ham's manager under the 2015-16 season, where they were basically that magical season with Dimitri Payet, and they basically, I think they earned the highest amount of points in club history during that season, and it was under Bilic's reign. So when we see West Brom, it's going to be a much different West Brom than the one we saw under Tony Pulis, which was more of a get as many tall players as I can and just hoof it up the field. Definitely Slaven Bilic is going to be the guy that's going to try to play around and focus more on the attacking side of the game. So it's going to be nice. We're getting a old mainstay in Leeds United, and we're also getting a former team that used to be in the Premier League for a little while now, West Brom.
West Brom also have a new Brazilian player that I never even heard of named Pereira. The only reason why I know about him is because he got some Team of the Community card or Team of the Year card in
nice.
FIFA 20, and apparently he's pretty decent. So that's the only real player I can think of from West Brom that's kind of notable. But I do know that West Brom, thank goodness, they will be hopefully playing a different kind of style as opposed to the Tony Pulis aerial bombardment kind of style that we
Craig Dawson.
Yeah, Craig Dawson. That's literally the first player I think of when you think of old West Brom.
Rondon.
Yeah, Salomon Rondon. Like, I know we mentioned these two teams in particular and the previous preview for the championship probable promotions, but now those two teams are actually now solidified going to get promoted, and the playoffs are currently happening for the last spot between the third place through sixth place in the championship. So the first two teams are getting promoted, Leeds United and West Brom. And West Brom, they will be they're like a Midland, like England team, so that they're like in the middle of England. I don't know in particular what that really means, but everyone always mentions them as like a Midlands team, so I'm guessing that's like rural.
Yeah,
or like
I think
factory, I don't know.
Wolves. I think the Wolves Twitter account tweeted something like because apparently Wolves and West Brom have like a
rivalry.
Like a derby, like a rivalry because they're close by. So that would be interesting.
That will be. And then I also did want to mention that I did a little bit of research into Leeds United and how they have this very notorious manager, Marcelo Bielsa, and apparently he has a lot of praise from some key notable managers like Pep Guardiola and Mauricio Pochettino. They kind of treat him as like one of the best coaches of all time. Wow. And I went through his stats. I went through his history and I was like, all right, who's he managed then? He's like, he's managed the Argentinian national team before during the early 2000s. He's managed Chile after Argentina. He's managed teams like Marseille. He's now at Leeds, obviously, but I'm like, man, I never heard of him, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But all these other like prolific managers are just keying him as one of the top managers of all time. And I mean, I also looked into like his kind of like why he's been regarded as so highly, prolific from all these other managers, and it's because of apparently his attention to detail. So he's a little crazy. He has he knows so much about all the other teams that he may know more than the current manager of a team. Like before going into Leeds, apparently he did a tactics breakdown of every single other team in the championship before he even got the Leeds job. So, and like, you know how I remember Andre Villas-Boas, the old manager for Spurs, he would always crouch on the sideline. Like that was his thing. Bielsa always sits on like a little stump or like a water, like what's it called? Not storage containers. That's like a weird way of saying it.
Like the little Gatorade things?
Yeah, like the little Gatorade. That's it. I don't know if that really paints a picture. Like the thing you bring to like a tailgate or like a picnic.
Or you pour on top of a head coach in
football,
like American
thing,
football.
Like I guess like a container. Let's just say that. He always sits on top of that on the sideline because like that's his perfect view. So like it's little things like that. You kind of get an idea of kind of the craziness behind this guy, but it's just his attention to detail. His very attacking minded play can bring out certain players like Pablo Hernandez. He was a key player for Swansea City back in the day. He's in his mid 30s now, and he's come back looking like a new like sprung guy during this last season.
I know they have Patrick Bamford up top, and he used to be the former Chelsea striker, and he was also signed by Middlesbrough back in like 2016.
So like he's a key player for them too, and like just little things like that, they're all coming through and going to go into the Premier League. So it'll be very interesting to see Bielsa's style be implemented into the Premier League, because now I'm like, maybe he can actually make some disruption given how much damage he's done in the championship. And if you haven't heard his name now, well, now you have.
Yeah.
So now if anyone asks you about Leeds, it's like, I don't know. Like, don't count them out too quickly, because they might be a surprise, like kind of like Sheffield United were this season, where they might actually do some damage.
Yeah, and it's looking at the playoff picture for to getting that third and final spot for promotion in the championship. Brentford will face Swansea, the third place Brentford facing sixth place Swansea, and then Fulham will play Cardiff. So that'll be fun. So I think I know Brentford were in the run-in before on Wednesday, before they ruined their chances to get the automatic promotion bid, and West Brom took it from them. But this will be fun to keep track of the playoffs and see who will get that final spot. And this is kind of a spoiler, but we're going to try to find maybe a championship reporter or someone that has a lot of knowledge about the championship, so they can kind of give you guys a much better picture about what can we expect in terms of the style and everything we can expect from these three teams next season in the Premier League. So watch out for that whenever the third team gets announced. We'll hopefully get that soon. But
I also did want to mention something I did find kind of cool about the playoffs is that we see both the Welsh teams in it.
Yeah,
Swansea and Cardiff. Formerly, they were in the Premier League at one point at the same time. And Fulham are also in the fight, and they were a recent former Premier League team. But Brentford is a team we haven't seen in the Premier League yet.
Yeah,
at least not to my knowledge. And as Yash mentioned, they did throw away their automatic promotion chances in their final game of the season against Barnsley, because Barnsley were in the relegation battle, and Barnsley needed to win to make sure they didn't get relegated. And they actually managed to pull off a 90th minute winner to send Brentford and to give Brentford the loss and then save Barnsley. So that's why Brentford are now third. But I think they have probably the best chance, given like some of the research I've done, and also just their goal scoring prowess at the time, because they currently have one of the best scoring records compared to any team in the championship. So hopefully the Bees, which is their nickname, can go through, because I'm all for seeing like new teams in the Premier League, like seeing Brentford, that's gonna be so cool. But seeing one of those former teams, Fulham, Swansea, Cardiff, if they're gonna be different, that'd be cool. But if there's gonna be the same team that just goes straight back down, it's gonna be like, man, bit of a waste.
No, it'll be interesting. And I think one other thing I wanted to point out quickly, this doesn't have to do with the playoff, but Jude Bellingham, I think we've all know who he is. Like, he's a well-touted 17-year-old Englishman who used to play for Birmingham City, but now he is officially signed to Borussia Dortmund. However, his former club, Birmingham City, at only 17 years old, for making 33 senior appearances, have retired his number. Very odd. And I don't know how many people know about that, but they actually legitimately retired his number, and a bunch of Birmingham fans are like, this is a joke. Like, this is ridiculous. And I think
was it like a random number, like 33 or like
it's legit. I think his number was 33.
Oh my.
Let me check real quickly. He only made 41 appearances, excuse me, but I believe his number is 33.
That's like Isco level retiring when Malaga retired his number.
Yeah, his number is 22.
Oh, 22. Okay. So, I mean, that's not uncommon, but
come on. He's
only made 41 appearances.
I get it. Like, he's going to be like, he could eventually become like a superstar.
Yeah, what if he was a flop?
Yeah, and like, if he's a flop, then it's like, what did you guys do? He'll just end up at Birmingham City a couple years down.
It's like, I can't get my own number.
But I think that's ridiculous. That's like Liverpool retiring
Takumi Minamino.
Yeah, they're like,
that's a little lower. But like, maybe
they're like Lazar Markovic or something.
Actually, Markovic kind of makes sense. His is like 50.
But I just think that's so weird and odd. Maybe there obviously has to be more to it, in terms of like, maybe he did a lot for the club off the field, in terms of helping out and such, or maybe he was someone that was part of the academy for years and years and stuff. But it's quite odd, I would say, for a club to do that type of stature, because usually when you think of retiring numbers, you think of especially in American sports. You think of players like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like legends that have literally made a name for themselves in the game, not up and coming rising teenagers. So
Yeah. You wouldn't see like Trae Young
yeah,
getting the number 11 retired for the Hawks or Luka
exactly.
Doncic. I mean, Luka, he can, and Trae, especially those two, we're getting into the NBA, but like they haven't made it yet. They haven't
Yeah,
won the NBA championship yet. Like Bellingham
exactly.
has not won like Birmingham City, the promotion. Like they didn't
Yeah.
win anything. They're still
So
mid-table. So
exactly. It's just an odd thing, but I quickly wanted to do our predictions real quickly about who will finish in the top four. I know we answered this maybe a little bit back, but official, who do you think will be in the top four on Championship Sunday? Even though I'm not too confident, I'm going to say Manchester United third and Chelsea fourth.
I have to agree with that. I think it will be those two because I don't believe in Leicester right now. Like Brandon Rodgers, when it's like go time, when it's like a key match,
we've seen it. Yeah, we've seen it this season.
We've seen him bottle it. We've seen him bottle it. I've seen him bottle it several times, and I'm like, man, he is not clutch. If you needed an ice in the veins kind of manager that can make the play, I don't believe it's Brandon Rodgers. I think he's really good at, getting the momentum early, but then at the very end, it's just wheels come off the truck. And then United will probably take it with a dub. And then Chelsea, I think we'll just get it by accident.
I think for this game, I think United, I know we mentioned that their tiredness, but I feel like Solskjaer, Maguire, they're going to have a talk and just say, like, look, if we just give our all for this one last game. Yeah. Basically,
suck this game.
Don't suck. Have a lot of energy and we can just finish out this one game. Then we don't have to worry about Europa League. We can just like take a chill break. But Leicester definitely have it all to play for because they have to win. I mean, they just have to.
They're not in great form either.
Yeah. It's going to be tough. Like the only thing they have going for them right now is like the pace of Vardy. Iheanacho has been doing decently well. Jose Perez can pop up with the goal in here or there, but other than that, the whole team has just been struggling as a whole. But the more just as exciting battle, obviously the relegation battle. I'm going to go for this. Shout out to Kevin Egan. I'm going to be sticking by his team, Aston Villa. I know I mentioned Bournemouth a couple weeks ago, but unfortunately, Boro fans, I think it's just looking too unlikely for you guys. You guys have like a big road against you, but Aston Villa, Kevin Egan, I'm going for your team. Shout out to Indiana Vasilev too, the young American that's also on Aston Villa, cheering for you. I am rooting for Villa to stay up, and I think they will get the job done against West Ham and find a way to stay up.
Ironically enough, I will also be on this train for
let's go.
Getting Villa up because shout out to Kevin Egan as well, and also to Matt from The Office. He was also a Villa fan. I think they have the best chances, and also, of course, Indiana Vasilev with that American connection, also with that UGA connection in like an indirect way. But
exactly.
I think Villa also have like the easiest matchup or like the least difficult matchup to get a result from. And also, I kind of want Jack Grealish to stay in the Premier League so that if he does get bought out by another team, his price will be ridiculously high because he'll still be in the Premier League. So if like, say Manchester United try to buy him, it will be 80 million pounds instead of 40 million if he were to get relegated. So I think Villa, they have a pretty good shot. Second place, hopefully Bournemouth. Watford, I don't think they deserve staying up for the antics that they've been doing in the Premier League the past several seasons. It's just been pretty toxic. And I know Troy Deeney's a good person, and all these players, they fought their way through for the past several seasons. And also I know Chris Stark from the Peter Crouch podcast is a Watford fan, but man, it's not the best way to stay up in Watford. It's not the best story either, like in terms of morals to keep Watford up. So I think Arsenal has got to do the job and just finish them, just send them to the championship, and Villa stays up.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting. Championship Sunday is probably this has probably been one of the most exciting Championship Sundays in a while.
Hmm.
Obviously, we already know who won the title, who has top two, but in terms of who gets the final two Champions League spots, and not to mention Europa League, and also this final spot to stay in the Premier League, it's going to be super fun. I'm excited for Championship Sunday. A little sad that the Premier League is coming to a close this season after a wild and wacky season, but it's a long time coming, but I'm super excited for this last weekend of the Premier League. But that kind of wraps up our show. Please make sure to rate, comment, subscribe. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, if you can give us a rating on iTunes and such, it really helps us out, helps us get more notice, and helps us helps other people find our shows as well in the Apple Podcast realm. But yeah, depending on if you're watching on YouTube or on Spotify, give us a follow there. But yeah, please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe. Also on social media at the Premier Pod, give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram. Leave us comments. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We're always active on there, posted memes or graphics or anything, some banter here and there. We love interacting with you guys. So please make sure to send us some of your reactions and stuff. And also, I wanted to point out real quickly that we have recently been hitting 20 downloads for the past couple of weeks on episodes. So shout out to you guys. Couldn't have done that without the support of everyone that's cheering for us at the Premier Pod. So thank you guys so much for the love and support you guys have shown us by downloading the episode, listening on, and just hearing what we have to say. Just two normal dudes from Georgia talking about the Premier League. So we do thank you guys for that.
Yes.
Much appreciated.
Thank you to all the fans. Thank you to all the listeners that stuck with us for all this time and just kind of watched us grow. So hopefully we can repay you guys by keeping the content good, keeping it interesting to what you guys want to hear, and hopefully give you something that maybe you didn't know about.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that kind of wraps it up for episode 82 for us. But yeah, thank you guys. Peace.
Peace.